All right, homework day 19. These ones are the ones she had in the wrong place, I believe. Write the following as an inequality. 5 is greater than or equal to y, and negative 3 is less than or equal to y, which should be a small y. Use y only once in your inequality. So what you want to do is you want to translate these each separately and get the y's in the middle so that you can put your two expressions together. So 5 is greater than or equal to y. Negative 3 is less than or equal to y. Well, if I want my y's in the middle, I'm going to have to flip this one around the other way. So if negative 3 is less than or equal to y, then y is greater than or equal to negative 3. Now I can just smush those two things together. 5 is greater than or equal to y. The y is greater than or equal to negative 3. And there's going to be my answer. The y is between my two numbers. Now, if you are going from largest to smallest, these both should end up being greater than signs. If you're going from smallest to largest, they'll end up both being less than signs when you're done. But they should always both point in the same direction. You can't have one going greater and one going less in the same expression if the variable's in the middle. So, number 2, y is less than 7. So y is less than 7. And greater than or equal to 3. Although it doesn't say y, it's implied. Y is greater than or equal to 3, right? So again on this one, if I want my y's in the middle, which one should I switch around?
7.
This first one here, right? So if y is less than 7, then 7 is greater than y. And y is greater than or equal to 3. So if I push them all together, 7 was greater than y, which is greater than or equal to 3. Again, notice my arrows, inequality signs end up pointing the same way because I'm going from largest to smallest. Darn, she has them all going that way. Oh well. So, it's supposed to be small x. 9 is greater than x. 9 is greater than x. And x is greater than 5. Oh, look, on that one we don't have to switch either of them around because my x's are already in the middle. So I'm just going to smush them together. 9 is greater than x, which is greater than 5. All right. Number 4, 5, and 6, we are graphing what they call a compound inequality. On a compound inequality, if they say and, you should be shading between your two dots. If it says or, you're going in two opposite directions. I'm going this way or this way. So and is in the middle, or will be the two opposite directions. You should see that by what you have anyway, but what you want to do is mark your two endpoints before you do any shading on the number line. X is less than 5 and x is greater than 8. So I would have an open circle at my 5. I would have an open circle. This can't be an and. That's got to be wrong. I'd have an open circle on my 8. 6, 7, 8. Scribble that out. That can't be and. It had to have been or she typed something else wrong. If x is less than 5, I should be shading on the left side of 5, right? And if x is greater than 8, I should be shading on the right side of 8. So that really should be an or, not an and. She must have typed that wrong. I better fix that while I'm thinking of it. Number 5, x is less than or equal to 3, and that can't be an and. That one can be an and. I don't know where she got these from. Oh no, that one can be an and. Never mind. That one can be an and. Because I got a negative 5, not a positive 5. Okay, so x is less than or equal to 3 and x is greater than or equal to negative 5. I'm going to have filled in end marks on both of those since they both have the equal to. So on 3, 1, 2, 3, I have a filled in dot. And on negative 5, I have the filled in dot. So this one says I'm on the left side of 3 and I'm on the right side of negative 5. So what ends up happening is you end up shading between your two dots, right? To be on the left side of 3 and on the right side of negative 5, I end up shading in the middle. And that's what should happen with an and. So on number 6, x is greater than or equal to 2. What kind of end mark should I have? The closed circle, the filled in circle, 1, 2. X is less than 7. What kind of end mark should that one have? The open circle, 5, 6, 7. And then you want to shade greater than 2 and less than 7, so you should be shading in the middle of those two dots. I'm on the right side of 2, but the left side of 7. So I'm between my two dots. Okay? The next one, we are now solving some inequalities. You solve an inequality the same way you solve an equation, except if you end up multiplying or dividing by a negative number, you have to reverse your inequality signs. These first ones are all just going to be adding and subtracting, so our signs are never going to switch when we add and subtract, only if we multiply or divide by a negative, which we'll get to. So number 7, if I want to get the u by itself, all I'm going to do is what? Add my 5. U is greater than 20. And you do have to type the whole inequality in. You can't just type in 20 because 20 would mean it's equal to 20. We want to show U is greater than 20. So number 18, if I'm going to solve that for V, I would add the 6. And I would get 18 is greater than or equal to V. And just leave it in that order. So number 9, if 11 is less than or equal to U, you would minus the 5. And your answer would be
6.
is less than or equal to U. 6 is less than or equal to U. So now in this next part is where you have to follow that rule. If you multiply or divide by a negative number, you must reverse the inequality sign. That means if your coefficient or the number right by the variable is negative, you're going to end up flipping your sign around. So if I look at this one, it says 12 is greater than or equal to negative 2. In order to solve this one, I end up dividing by the negative 2. Since that bottom number is negative, I end up flipping my sign. Still leaving it in the same order. 12 divided by negative 2 is negative 6. But this is going to be less than or equal to U then. So my answer is negative 6 is less than or equal to the U. Same thing on number 11. If I want to solve that for U, I'm going to end up multiplying by that negative 5. So when I multiply by that negative 5, the same thing's going to happen. I'm going to have to flip my sign. So the U ends up being greater than 3 times negative 5, which is negative 15. However, if you look at number 12, when you solve number 12, what are you going to do to solve that? I'm dividing by a positive 4. The number by the variable is positive. So if that number's positive, you leave the sign the same way. And so my answer is V is less than or equal to negative 5. Right? Negative divided by a positive is a negative. So it doesn't matter what the top number is on the dividing. If it's the bottom one is negative, that's when you flip that sign. Or if you multiply by a negative like we had to do here. So then they get into some of those two-step ones where I'm going to do my adding or subtracting first and then my multiplying or dividing second. And I have to remember on that last step, if I multiply or divide by a negative, I flip my sign. So on this one, first thing I'm going to do is add my 8. So 3x is going to be greater than or equal to negative 17 plus 8 would be?
25.
What was that?
Negative 17 plus 8 is a negative 25?
No, because they're not both negative, right? If they're both negative, you add and keep the sign.
So 25.
Nope. Negative 9, because what's your rule when your signs are opposite? Subtract and take the sign of the larger. So negative 9. Then I'm going to do what to solve that? Divide by 3. Now I'm dividing by a plain 3, a positive 3, so my sign should stay the same. So x is greater than or equal to negative 3. So since this is positive, my sign stays the same. Number 14, if I want to solve that for x, the first thing I want to do is add the 5. Negative 4 plus 5 is 1. So 1 is less than or equal to x over 3. And what do I do to solve that one? Do what? Times by our 3, right? Multiply by 3. And again, that's a positive 3 that I'm multiplying by. So 3 is less than or equal to x. My sign stays the same because I multiplied by a positive 3. So number 15, if I'm going to solve that one for x, I'm first going to...
Was that less than?
This is a greater than.
Greater than.
5x plus 6 is greater than negative 9. So first thing I want to do is subtract the 6. So 5x is greater than negative 15. And then in order to solve that, divide by 5. So what should my answer be?
Negative 3.
The whole thing?
X is greater than
X is greater than negative 3. Again, this was positive, so my sign stayed the same way. Now I get the next one. See, they separated them on the pie chart, but when you take the assessment, they don't tell you which one it is. So 16, 17, and 18 should look really similar to the last ones we just did. Solving that for y, the first thing I want to do is subtract the 2. So 16 is greater than negative 4y. Then in order to solve that, I'm going to divide by the negative 4. So my answer is going to be negative 4 is less than y. Because this was negative, I ended up flipping my sign the other direction. So negative 4 ends up being less than y. Number 17. What do we do to solve that one? Subtract the 11 first. Negative 19 minus 11 would be? Negative 30 is greater than or equal to 5v. And then I'm going to divide by 5, and my answer is going to be negative 6 is
greater than or less than 3.
greater than or equal to the v. I divided by a positive 5, so my sign stayed the same direction. I didn't have to flip it, right? So if my coefficient is negative, I flip my sign, but if it's positive, I leave it the same direction. So last one on here. First thing I'm going to do, add the 24. 18 plus 24. Must be 42. You guys all yelled it at once, right? In order to solve that, I'm going to divide by negative 3, and so my answer is going to be is greater than v, exactly. I divided by a negative, I had to flip that inequality sign the other direction. All right, so when you look at your pie chart, you're going to have a little slice that says something about inequalities. So those last 2 pages are going to be from that other slice of your pie, but still in the same chapter. And that should be everything through chapter 2. I better save what I changed. Now we just have to get to work.